I started seeing all the old names disappear. The stuff I was seeing at Psycho and Franklin, it wasn't the same. So I'm like, this is a tragedy. I got to do something about it. I started meeting people and networking. I started living it heavy from like 96, 97. It was just like, okay, you want to write? You want to be a writer? You got to paint. For me, it was about being out there and getting up.
All right. What up, everybody? Dregs One here. Another episode, another interview. Today, special guest, somebody who has been a pivotal part of the graffiti scene since the beginning, I believe. Going back to the 80s. Someone who supplied a lot of styles and supplied a lot of paint for the community. And he's a historian himself, an archivist, and he's got a collection of flicks we're going to take a look at. And today we're talking with the one and only Neon from BA Crew. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me.
No doubt. Appreciate you making time. You actually, a couple people have requested that you come on. One of them was Anger from CBS Crew down in LA.
Oh, cool.
Well, let's just jump right into it because you got so many flicks. I want to get to those, but just as a little bit of backdrop, were you born and raised in the city?
Yeah, born and raised in San Francisco. Sunset boy.
Okay, what part of the Sunset?
24th and Irving.
24th and Irving, cool.
Right in the middle.
Cool. Yeah, what was your childhood like growing up out there?
It was cool. My parents were immigrants, so they bought a house. They bought a flat. So we lived my family lived basically in the flat. We lived on the top floor, and then my aunt and uncle, my mom's sister, lived below us, and so it was like one big family home going up and down. And then there was a finished in-law, but it was just rooms. It was just a bathroom and a couple of rooms. There was no kitchen, no facility other than a bathroom. And it was like a hangout. My cousin set up a drum set down there. And there was just a whole home where you could just wander around. If I didn't want my mom's dinner, I'd go eat with my aunt, stuff like that. And it was a normal upbringing, man, I guess. Although my folks being immigrants were kind of strict, and living on the third floor, I couldn't really get out easily. I couldn't sneak out. So it was kind of difficult hanging out, if you know what I mean.
Where did they immigrate from?
My dad, both of them are Armenian. My mom came from Iran. My dad came from France, although he was in Venezuela. So he went from France to Venezuela, lived in Caracas for like a dozen years. And then when the coup happened there in the late 50s, early 60s, he bailed out and came to San Francisco because his brother, my uncle, was living in San Rafael. And then my parents met in the late 60s and had me.
So they were kind of scattered after the whole genocide and everything happened there.
Yeah, my grandfather, my mom's dad was a freedom fighter. He was a cavalry commander for Nijde, one of the big generals, and fought in the massacres. Yeah.
Damn.
My grandpa on my dad's side got out right before the big massacres. His side of the family was from Sivas, which is central Turkey. And when you look at a map of the genocide, there's a really big red dot on Sivas. Almost the whole population got wiped out. So they bailed out before the massacres, went to Istanbul. My dad was born, and at like 1.5 or 2 years old, they immigrated to France. So he considers himself French because that's where he grew up.
There's always kind of been a decent sized Armenian population in the city. I mean, they have that memorial cross on Mount Davidson.
Yeah.
It's not as concentrated as like LA, But yeah, there's quite a few Armenians that came to San Francisco back in the day.
Yeah, they've been established for a long time. LA is the largest population of Armenians outside Armenia.
Yeah, I went to jail in Glendale for graffiti, and they had like Armenian. I was like, "What language is that?" Like on the walls, like warnings and stuff written in Armenian. I didn't realize that was the wrong place to be walking around tagging.
Yeah.
Okay, so the city, you're growing up in the city, 70s, 80s. What was it like around San Francisco?
It was a different place, man. Kids on every block, on all the streets, hanging out, playing, riding BMX bikes, riding their big wheels, making makeshift jump like ramps out of cardboard, wood and milk crates. And it was pretty cool. Kids everywhere. That's what I remember. Kids everywhere, every street, playing ball in the street, hanging out. And then when video games came, like in 1980, that was awesome. All the arcades. It was just a way to hang out and socialize between kids and meet kids from different schools. So because my dad was French, I went to NDV. That was my grammar school up on Pine. It's between Bush and Pine, between Stockton and Grand. So right there in Chinatown.
I'm by that hospital over there, no?
The hospital is like a few blocks up on
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But the church, Notre Dame de Victoire, is on Bush. You see the church right next to the French embassy there. And then the actual school is on Pine. So it was like in the middle of the block. You walk half a block down, you're straight up in Chinatown. So it was awesome growing up. After school, you're walking through Chinatown, going store to store, asking for fireworks. Do you sell smoke bombs? Looking for ninja stars, switchblades, Bloody Marys. That was great. It was great growing up.
Yeah, San Francisco back then was, I wasn't around back then, but my generation, it was just a fun place to grow up. It was a fun place to be a kid. And, yeah, like you said, there were families and kids all over the place. Just so much stuff to get into. At what point did graffiti come into the picture for you?
So I don't know if you've heard, but I've decided to do a book on SF on the early days. And I've been talking to people about this, trying to get like a baseline of what it was like in the beginning. What I noticed for myself is that I always saw, I guess, what you call street graffiti, like rock and roll graffiti, the Van Halen logos, the Black Sabbath cross, the AC/DC. In the Sunset, it was big. WPOD was big. White punks on dope. There was a Sunset District Irish, the SDIs. They had their own graff. The Blue Oyster Cult symbol, that was big. And then so my bus was the 71 or the 16 Express. So to go downtown, I'd have to go through Haight Street, and then the bus would hit Market right at Psycho City and turn onto Market. And so I saw all these parking lots. There was one on Franklin. There was one on Goff. There was one in Psycho City. I saw this one, always intrigued me. It was the Batman symbol, and in the middle it said, "Love is revenge." I was like, wow, man, what is this? Who are these people doing this? Like, why would you write that? And then I saw, so my dad worked at the Emporium. He worked for the Emporium, and he used to drag me down there on Saturdays. I hated going down there. And so I would wander downtown on my own. And I would make it up to this bookstore on Powell. There was this big ass bookstore. between O'Farrell and Gary. And turns out like Spy's relative owned that. But I would see Mr. A around there a lot. And Doug told me that was Riff. That was one of his undernames. So I'd always see this stuff. And I never understood what it was, why people were doing it. I guess it was just hanging out, drinking a 40. You know, you go to the beach and you'd see it on the beach wall, the retaining wall, the Sutro bath ruins. People would go down there and smoke J's and write stuff on the wall like that, you know. Billy loves Lori, you know, CC plus, you know, LH in a heart. And there was always that kind of graph. So I always noticed it. And for me, it was hip hop first came in when I went to that bookstore on Powell. And in the middle of the store, they had this big table where they'd have all the art books, the Foss spaceship books and the Frazetta, you know, fantasy type stuff. So I was always drawn to that. And I'm looking through and I noticed this one book with subway cars on it. It was subway art. So I picked it up and I'm looking through it. In my mind, I'm just a little kid, man. I was like 12, 13. I was thinking this is like a after school program. I'm thinking, wow, man, that's so cool. New York has this program. They're letting kids like paint these subways. And I'm thinking, we have these trolleys. We got the BART. Why don't they have a program like that here? This looks so cool. Never occurred to me it's all illegal. The kids are racking and, you know, it's just street culture. I grew up kind of sheltered. So I didn't understand it. It looked cool. I put the book down. That was it. I didn't think much about it. Later on, so I'm in high school now. It's 83. I graduated 8th grade. Early 84. I'm looking through the TV guide after school and I see documentary New York City graffiti art. So New York City subway graffiti or something like that. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I wonder if this is like the book. So I grabbed my dad had just got a Betamax, V8 video recorder. So I grabbed an empty cassette, stuck it in and recorded what ended up being Style Wars. And I was like, whoa, this is just like the book. I recognized names from the book in the movie. And then I realized, oh, wow, this is not an after school program. This is just dudes doing this stuff. They're dancing and they're singing and there's this whole music thing. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Now, the funny thing is, nobody I knew that I grew up with knew this. Nobody that I really knew or was into this. Not at my grammar school. No one at high school that I knew was into this. I ended up taking the video cassette to LA, showed my cousin. And he was like, oh, this is cool, man. So we grabbed some spray paint and we went out and we just wrote on some stuff, just dumb stuff. That was my introduction to graph. That's when I first realized this is a thing. And it was different. It was different from the gang looking blocks that I saw in the Mission. It was different from that white boy graffiti, that rock and roll graffiti that I saw. It was completely different because it was big and it was colorful and the tags were more stylized. It wasn't just straight written. And that really appealed to me. But like I say, I was kind of isolated. I was alone. I didn't know anybody. So I didn't network. It just kind of stayed as is. You know, I liked it. I sketched, but I didn't go out and practice. What I did do in practice was I had my own little thing that I would do on the buses as like a fun thing for myself to see if I got on the bus, would I see it again? And it was I was into heavy metal as a kid, rock and roll, you know, rock and heavy metal. And so I made up this thing. It said heavy metal in like a cross form. It said heavy across metal vertical. And I did it in like this, like a metal font, I guess. you know? And I would do that on the buses just to see. And so that was my thing. It never occurred to me to make up a name and get up a name, you know, until I just started seeing more and more of that on the buses. And I'd see more colorful stuff on the panels in the back. I'm like, whoa, what is this? And at first I thought it's the New York dudes that have come here. I didn't think SF guys were doing it. You know, I saw the first piece I saw was Fury's piece in the Enjuta tunnel. That character that was going like this with the slant Fury. And then I thought, that's a guy from New York that came here and did that. I didn't know Fury was a local kid. It didn't occur to me. I don't know. I just didn't think anyone in SF would want to do that. I didn't think, because the movie made it look like there was this economic condition, you know? There were these poor kids were doing it from poor neighborhoods. And it didn't occur to me that people would want to do that. And then later on, I learned it wasn't just poor kids. It was rich kids. It was all kids of all ethnicities, economic conditions, writing on stuff. And it was like a way of life in New York. But it just didn't occur to me that that would translate to San Francisco, you know?
So, who after you did the heavy metal cross tags? Actually, before I even ask that, I want to say it's kind of interesting what you said about the white boy tags, because the narrative usually it's also good you're writing a book about this, because the narrative usually goes Cholo letters, hip hop, graffiti, but it's kind of interesting to think about, the rocker tags or the hippie tags or
wino tags.
Yeah.
Who knows writing this stuff?
Yeah. It's interesting to think of that kind of progression as being part of it too.
Well, the Cholo stuff it's like this. It wasn't like one was above the other. The Cholo stuff was always around. I think since, the 30s, the 20s, it's always been around. And then writing on stuff has been around since. So it just made, I think they just were together. The Cholo stuff was in the Mission. It didn't come out of the Mission, because I think it was more like you're stating your neighborhood, right? This is for the hood. This is don't cross these lines. We're 19th Street. We don't go down to 24th. 24th don't go up to 19th. These are things you learn later. I didn't know these as a kid growing up, So I think it was all at the same time. Here's some LA graff. I remember this interested me too. I would take pictures of this because it looked cool.
It's dope.
Yeah.
They got 3D on the letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The G is backwards.
Oh, yeah.
The writing is just so cool. I remember in high school, I caught a math book with all this just Cholo writing. And I was like, wow, I should have kept the book. I felt like I was lucky. I got a good used book from this dude, Angel. He was the upperclassman dude that, I guess he lived out there. It was sick, man. He knew how to write like that. Now more gangster stuff. This is off Melrose.
Oh.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's pretty dope.
I love it.
So at what point did you come up with the actual tag name and start meeting other writers?
So that first time I went out with my cousin, we just wrote whatever. I think I wrote Psycho. He wrote Demon. We just made up these whatever names and then just wrote. And it was a mess. It sucked. We sucked. And we were using the wrong caps. We were just using the wrong paint. So I'd come back to San Francisco and I wouldn't write on anything. I would just do my bus tags, with a Sharpie or with a El Marco. And I was just doing my heavy metal. And occasionally I would do the, Van Halen logo or AC/DC. I would write that stuff. And when I start seeing this other stuff of type of graph, it was interesting. I remember I'd see these S's with a circle around them a lot. And it turns out that was Sprays from K-Sun. I didn't know him and I didn't know who it was. But I was just like, okay, this is my bus line. I'm going to try and claim my bus line. So I started crossing out those S's with the circle and started putting an N in a circle. I was messing around with the name Neon Spy. Neon because I like bright colors. I like neon stuff. And in the 80s, that was the thing, right? Swimwear was all neon colored. You'd see like this new wave art, this fashion art. It was all neon type looking stuff. So neon for bright colors and bright stuff, and then Spy for Spy versus Spy from Mad Magazine. I like the idea of sneaking around, and I was pretty good at it. So I thought the juxtaposition of two things that don't go together, being really out, standing out, and sneaking around, were kind of cool. I ended up dropping the Spy part because I ended up seeing Spy, and he was doing SPIE. And it looked so cool the way he did his tag from small S to big E. And I thought, man, not only is that looking cool, but the way he spelled it was cool. I was like, you know what? Somebody's already doing Spy. I'm going to drop Spy. And then it was just neon. I added the ski just to make it cool, at least in my mind. So I started doing these ends with the circle and battling Sprays on the 71, the 29, the 28, the 16, and the 72. Those were the buses in my neighborhood. Occasionally, if a 71 wasn't making it out to my neighborhood and I was downtown, I'd catch the 6 Parnassus, and I'd switch off at 9th and Irving. So I'd get up on 6s. And that was different because that's an electric bus. All the other ones were diesels. So I started doing those. And then later on, I found out that it was Sprays. And we had a good laugh about it, luckily. And because I was like, damn, if he had found out that was me during that time, I probably would have got beaten to the ground. But I survived, luckily. So that's the first Neon Spy. That's my first real tag. And I'd only get it up in the summers when Derek would come visit me from LA. We did a piece on 25th in Irving. There was like what do you call it? Not a grammar school, like a nursery school in the middle of the block. But it was open. There was no fences, no gates. You could just walk in. We walked in one night, and on the building, I did a Neon Spy stacked. Neon on top, neon above the Spy. And then he did a Cheech Wizard character. And we were into comics back then. Never got a flick. I have the sketch, but I don't have the flick, unfortunately. We never thought about taking pictures back then. That was my first piece. And it sucked. It was all the wrong paint, Derusto, Zinolite, just crap brands with stock tips. But it was beautiful. We thought it was the coolest thing we had ever done. And so I loved it, but I didn't make it like a job. Like I didn't go out and hit. Because like I say, I was alone. I didn't know anybody. And turns out Rob's was he was hanging out on my street. He was best friends with my neighbor, a guy across the street, Ralph. And unfortunately, Rob's passed away this February. R.I.P., man. He was a good dude. And I'd see him around, but it never occurred to me that he was a writer. Like, I kind of didn't hang out with these guys because my mom and dad were really strict. that me and Ralph had like a situation when we were kids. We stole his older sister's piggy bank and split the money. My mom found my half of the cash under my bed, made me give it all back. And then she was like, I don't want you talking to these kids no more. I don't want you talking to them no more. And when she caught me talking to them, I caught a massive beat down. So I was just like, all right, I can't really hang out with them. I wonder what would have happened if my life had been different and I was still friends with Ralph and got to meet Robs at that time. And I would have developed my style at a different time. But it's okay. It's the way, it's the way it turned out. But that's what I did, man. I made Neon Spy. I hit it up during the summers. And it wasn't until like 80, late 88, 89, early 89 that I decided to make it a thing, to go out regularly, because I started seeing all the old names disappear. The stuff I was seeing at Psycho and Franklin, it wasn't the same, So I thought, okay, I'm going to start painting what I remember seeing and try to keep that alive. So that was my thinking.
What do you mean by that? It wasn't the same, like, because when you say Psycho and Franklin,
the styles have changed.
You mentioned going past them on the bus and stuff.
Yeah.
So were there between then and 88? Were there pieces? There were pieces in there already, and
so I saw it develop as I'm taking the bus downtown or going back home from school, from grammar school. And then later on, like I say, I would go to work with my dad on Saturdays. And then sometimes he'd let me leave early. And so I would take off and take the bus home. I would see Psycho, what became Psycho City, the parking lot. And before, it was just tags. It was just street graffiti, like we were talking about. Winograph. Love is Revenge. And there was this dude doing these roller blocks that said creep. Weird stuff. And then I remember seeing a Cuba piece. And I was like, whoa. That was the second thing I saw other than the Fury in Judah Tunnel that looked like a New York thing. And then remember, I got off the bus. I walked into the parking lot. I saw a riff throw up, like a simple riff piece. I guess I call it a throw up, but I guess it was a piece. I was like, wow, man, it's happening here. This is super cool. And, there was this other parking lot. There was Franklin. And then on Golf, there was another one right behind, I guess the AAA building. It's built up now, but back then it was a parking lot. And I would see this stuff and I'd start seeing throw ups. Yeah. So I started seeing development happen in the city. And, I ended up seeing the Psycho City piece. I would go down there because it was open. There was no fences or nothing. You could just walk in and wander around. It was a bunch of different parking lots as one unit. So Psycho City was really that smaller parking lot in the back. When I saw the piece, I'm like, whoa, this is huge. Who's doing this? I had no idea what was what. I saw glimpses of that when what's their names? Shoot, forgot the names. Not Tough City Artists. The Fun Gallery production when they came through. I saw the production on the barricades in the Tenderloin. I was like, whoa, it's happening here. There's stuff happening. So it was exciting to see development, It was exciting to see color and shape and form, like the book, like the movie, happening. October, Psycho City. Here's Crush going over Disney. And then Crush made it into a production.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's facing market.
Damn. I mean, that's another thing you don't really see much these days is these like one-man productions people are doing.
Right.
God,
he was one of the few. He was one of the few still getting up. So I kind of came in a transition period. A lot of the old timers had stopped, but there was a bunch of new guys coming out. And then occasionally you would get old timers coming back and doing something. But it wasn't like, old like TMF dudes were painting every weekend. And now at this time they weren't. They were the new guys.
So even by 1990 they had slowed down a little bit.
They had slowed down, yeah. Doug wasn't painting as much. Bizarro wasn't painting as much. Even Dean wasn't painting as much. So you would see more. You see other guys, Colin, Cope, Coper, Trem was getting up. It was a different set of TMF dudes that I hadn't seen before. And these guys were going strong. TBC guys, Quest, Deco. They asked Crush to be down with their crew because he was so good. This is a Disney piece, part of a Disney piece at Psycho. This is when the paint ban happened in 1990. That's the other half.
Damn.
He was going around doing these big social commentary type productions.
Yeah, that almost reminds me more of like street art stuff. I mean, back then, how was something like that being received? Were people open to that, or were they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, it was. There was a bunch of stuff that was in coexistence. Twist was doing his like throw ups, eggheads.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And that wasn't like traditional, letters.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that one before. That's Twist, huh?
That's Twist on Franklin next to our production. There's a tunes piece to the left of him, and then it's me and Solo to the right.
So he says Iraq is to Kuwait as the United States of America is to Panama, as the United States of America is to Grenada, all of the above, and so on. So Twist was doing a lot of political messages back then.
I guess he had just come back from the Central America visit, and so he was really politicized.
Damn, I didn't know he went down there.
And then he would just show up. You're painting, and then randomly dudes would come and go. Some people would take photos. Some people would, like I would do. I'd get a milk crate, sit down and watch people paint. He shows up and he's like, "Hey, can I paint with you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, I'll take this spot in between. I don't need a lot of space. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, man. Use whatever we got, whatever paint you need." And then he does this.
Amazing. Like
Those are the good old days.
It's like a little mini mural.
Yeah. This is Florida. I think 17th in Florida.
Is that one on the right with a marker or a brush? Or?
I think it was a brush.
I remember seeing stuff like this.
Yeah.
Before I knew what graffiti was and just being like, oh, cartoons. But kind of knowing it was more than just cartoons.
There were 3 of these dudes. It was him, Twist, Eros, and Sundance.
Sundance?
Were just sick with anything.
Wow.
But a lot of it, what I saw was markers.
Yeah.
You go to spots and see marker characters. Sometimes they're like just little dinky, 2-3 inch, 4 inch tall mini productions in a blank spot between pieces or scribble scrabble. Usually when a production was dissed, never on something clean. They were respectful. This is early 90s, 94. This is after Psycho City got closed down.
Right.
And it was spreading all city. That was like one of the best things that could ever have happened to to the writing movement. Close Psycho and spread it. They thought they were going to contain it. Instead, they ended up spreading it. Here. This is a spy piece he did for Rays. Oh, this is the dedication. This is the whole piece. This is the original Psycho City wall. At this point, you can see it's gone over so many times. It's layered up.
Yeah.
Tags are crawling up the wall. The parking lot's destroyed. There's that alley in the corner here. The place was destroyed. And it's only 3 years. It's really a short period of time. Or 4 years. 86 to 80 to 90. That's not really that long.
No. Yeah. So that shows a lot of people were going down there.
Yeah.
So by 88, you decided to go down there and start piecing yourself?
Yeah. I decided I'm going to do this. Because, like I say, the stuff that I'd been seeing, it was really different. I'd seen, and I run into these places by accident. I knew a girl that lived over on Athens in Excelsior, and it was right by Crocker Amazon. And so while waiting for her, I went into the park and I'm like, whoa, what's this? The park's all done up. And I see this stuff. Crocker Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
Wow. RW.
Yeah. Ink and Bizarro, right?
Wow.
And then Rob's was painting like this. But I had no idea. So I think this is the oldest stuff I've got that she scanned. So
wow.
The YMCA at Chinatown had a rooftop spot. And it was open. You just go into the YMCA, go up the stairwell, and go pop up on the roof, and you'd see this stuff. And it was like old Norman Risqué, TWS stuff, Def Kings. And by this time, so it says 1987. This flick is like 89. So it's already a couple years outdated. But it looks so nice, right?
It looks sick. It's
Fairly
pretty advanced too, with the color scheme and the background and everything.
It's got a couple of mosquito bites, but mostly it's cool. It's been weathered. It's in the sun. Here's a Def piece by Norm on another part of the wall. This is cool, man. All stock tip. Old colors. That's Grant Street right there.
You took these photos?
Yeah.
So you were already into documenting and stuff?
Yeah.
That's just fresh.
So these are some of the oldest photos that I have sketched. I mean, done up. Here's a crayon Tosti cover that I posted on Instagram not too long ago. I guess this was a paid gig for this dude who had like a album. And this was for like Keyboard Magazine. They paid him to do this gig. It's at AP Giannini.
Yeah, that's where I went to middle school.
Oh, cool.
Damn, I wish they would have kept that up.
I know. It's not there anymore?
Nah.
Oh, wow. It was there for a long time. It was there until like the late 90s.
I got there in 98.
Yeah, this is Tunes, Rifa, and Crayon up in Sacramento.
Wow.
They got old jungle green still in it, hot pink, a lot of old classic colors.
It's really advanced can control for back then.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Rifa and Tunes did a lot of the filling in. Tunes did the character in the middle. And then Crayon did all the outlining. And it's Crayon's letters.
I mean, that shit would burn most walls now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, here's Stu and Venus. This was cool. This was one of these productions.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a Twig character, huh?
Yeah. And his piece, Venus.
BVD.
Things were changing every week. Every week. You never knew what was going up, what was happening.
Yeah.
You miss a weekend, you come back, and then you see this.
Right.
You're like, oh, wow. But I caught them painting this. I saw them paint. I tried to avoid pictures of people as much as possible for incriminatory. I didn't want to incriminate anyone.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care about people as much as I cared about the art. I wanted a lot of art. I regret not taking pictures of more bombing.
Yeah.
It was focused mostly on pieces. I focused a lot on pieces. When I look back, I would have told my younger self, take flicks of everything. There were some buses that were so wrecked. They looked beautiful. The writing was so different. It wasn't that bus hopper style we have now.
Mm-hmm.
That one flow. It was different. I wish I took pictures.
Wow.
Rule
Nice.
at Franklin. He changed his style to this more funk style.
See the claim hollow above it.
Yeah, he was around. Definitely around. Got up a lot. This is a classic. Silver Terrace.
Yeah.
Raven from TWS.
Wow.
Sick.
That's hella sick.
I wish I had the piece to the right. That one was beautiful. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I was seeing. But then in 88, 89, I'm not seeing this anymore. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm like, this is a tragedy. I got to do something about it. What came later didn't look anything like that. And I wasn't recognizing the names. It was becoming more bombing and less piecing, less productions. And that's what disappointed me. I was like, damn, either these guys are not getting up anymore or it's changed. They don't want to get up anymore. And so I would look at it like I want to continue in the tradition of what I saw, And it was just a matter of okay, I'm going to do it. It was just making a gut level decision. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to do this regardless of what it takes. I'm going to do it. So I had moments where, like in 87, I graduated high school. I went to college at USF and I was sketching. And some girl I knew, she's like, oh, you into that stuff? I was like, yeah. She goes, I know some guys who do that. I'm like, really? Who? She goes, oh, you want me to introduce you? I'm like, yeah. She takes me to Gilson Hall and it's Bam and Estria. And I'd seen their stuff. I'm like, oh shit, it's these guys. I see the stuff on their wall. And I'm like, oh, it's these guys. And I'd seen them. I'd seen the techno style production Man 45 did with them, with the characters. I'm like, oh shit, it's these guys. Like these guys are like top level dudes. And then they kind of befriended me and I told them I was into it. And so Estria invited me out to 23rd Yard, Oakland. And we went out there. I guess it was like a test to see how good I was. I sucked. So I did a sketch out of my sketchbook and he gave me some pointers. I did like a genie. It was a character my cousin had drawn. It was Neon and the O was a genie character going like this with a turban. And I painted it really flat. So Estria was like, you got to do, and he showed me shading. He showed me some stuff to kind of pop the character. But he basically called me a toy and said I sucked. And I'm like, yeah, I am a toy. So what? You got to start somewhere, right? And that was that. This is one of my pieces at the 23rd Yard. So I sucked compared, over here, you see Paris from Hawaii. I was still doing old fills and stuff that I remember.
Who's Christine?
Some girl I was dating. Here's another piece. I did a Krista piece.
Is she getting better?
Sorta. But you see, this had already been going on. CTV, Masterpiece Creators.
Yeah.
They'd already been going on a couple of years before me. So I still had old caps and yeah.
Takes a lot of confidence when you're a toy to go out and try your best to do a burner. Is this all like disposable cameras, or you had actual photo?
No, this is actual photo. It's a camera.
Okay.
It's a 110.
Okay.
I ended up getting sick later that semester, and I missed the spray can art book signing at Mission Cultural Center. And then I ended up joining the Marines next summer in '88. And my unit happened to be in Alameda. And I would take breaks sometimes from drill, and I'd go and hang out at the yard. And I got to see 23rd Yard develop. I would see stuff like this. Like Dream would do this Tony Veronica. This is beautiful.
Wow. To Veronica, Love Tony. By Mike Dream. Damn, I wonder what's the story behind that. Did Tony pay him to do that, or was that just a favor, or what?
Maybe.
That's clean.
Yeah.
That's what you just said about how a clean straight letter just burns.
You could tell if he didn't do it right. You would be able to see easily.
Yeah, that shit is perfect.
There's no drips. There's no screw ups. There's no overspray. It's like, and he put the shines. And like, this is beautiful.
Yeah. What was up with the paint back then? Was it because I had this conversation with people before? It's just like there's something about the 80s. I mean, this is 90, but back then, like the colors and stuff, so they kind of have that whole 80s, like you said, just really bright and
pastel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the 80s. It was a pastel look. And that's what was available. Remember, this paint was really made for hardware purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Rust-Oleum was marketing to hardware dudes, workers. Krylon was marketing to housewives. Women sitting at home, got nothing to do, and they got these pretty colors, and they're going to paint their wicker, their outdoor furniture, flower pots, their watering cans, vases. That's what it was about. They were marketing to these people, and we were just grabbing colors for the sake of grabbing colors. It wasn't about a brand. Now, I guess I'm jumping ahead, but when I did the MTN thing, it kind of changed things. It made people stick into a brand. Back then, there was no brand loyalty. I painted with everything. And I get in these conversations online where people are like, there's this look to the old style because of the paint. Yeah, it was a different kind of paint.
Right.
You had thick paint like Rusto, D-Rusto, epoxy. That stuff was thick. And then you had certain pigments that were thick. Pigments like yellow and orange, notoriously thin. And then you had a thin brand overall, like Krylon.
Mm-hmm.
It came out really thin. Even though they were great colors, seen in Style Wars is like, calls it a shit brand. Rusto is the one. But they were painting trains. And that's what you want. You want thick paint for painting trains. We're painting walls. Anything goes. You just want it for the color. So flower paint worked. There was, oddball brands, or there was Orchard Paint. There was Orlac. There was DeRusto. Orchard. So many different brands. And then Swap Meet Paint, Grauco, National. We used whatever we got our hands on. Sometimes they'd be that one color, touche pink or purple. All the other touche colors sucked. But if you had that touche purple, woo, that was it. It would set your piece off. That's what it was about. And when you layer your colors, the way the physics of the colors work, like at certain times of the day, your piece would look different. This piece will look totally different. See, it's an overcast day.
Right.
Perfect for catching a good flick. This is the true colors of this piece because it's overcast. If the sun had been out, it would pop those reds more. It would alter it. The physics change. At the end of the day, at dusk, when the light's going down, it changes the light. So the way you layer your colors, how you layer them, it affects how your piece looks at different times of the day. And That's what made Krylon so beautiful. It was thin.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked for all kinds of effects. It was an effect paint. You filled in with your rustos and you went over with your Krylons.
Right.
There's no way to reproduce this paint today. There's no way to reproduce this look.
Yeah.
All the paint now is opaque.
Yeah.
Everything they make is thick and covers. So, they just released, Krylon just came out with that old classic line,
I think I saw that.
People are like going off on this all online, and the new school is like, this sucks. Like, yeah, what do you think? It's Krylon. It always sucked. Well, now you know what we used. Now you know how it felt. That valve hurt, man. It hurt your forearm. All this would like lock up during the day. Sometimes you just like stop and have to take a break, drink your beer, smoke your J to give your forearm a break, man. This finger muscle, this all the way down carpal tunnel into your forearm was like pain.
Oh, yeah.
These modern valves is a joke. It's easy to paint now. So, sure, it's great. Krylon came back with these old colors, but, maybe if you mix them now, you use them the way we used to, you could recreate the piece. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm gonna. There's a certain look to that old look that is just, it just looks so cool. It's nostalgic.
Stands out for sure.
Yeah. I'm in the Marines and I go one summer to thing and I see this.
So you kind of missed the whole new wave versus funk conflict.
Yeah, I caught it on the back end.
But you were hanging out with Bam and Estra, and some of the stuff you're painting looks a little more like new wave influenced.
Yeah, very much so. I really like the new wave look.
It's interesting because people described it like the Mission and Daly City side was funk, and then the Avenues was new wave.
It wasn't even really the avenues. It was just select people. There were certain people.
Okay.
And it was just a different way of painting. Here's the other side of the best of both worlds.
Damn. I never saw this up close before. Shit was huge, huh?
Yeah. That's, I would say, 10 feet tall, 11 feet tall, the wall. You need a ladder.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I think maybe I heard it, but I forgot that he dedicated it to Jim Prigoff and Henry Chalfant.
Yeah. This was him like basically declaring, I can do both.
Yeah.
I can do funk and I can do new wave. What's the problem? There shouldn't be a beef. And it's the only time he ever wrote TWS.
Right.
On the other side, it said TWS. Crayon had put him down. He's like, okay. But then he realized that's going to make a lot of static with Doug and all them. So he's like, you know what? I'm friends with all of you guys. I'm neutral. I'm just going to stay out of it. And kind of to backtrack, this whole time, since I recorded Style Wars and I went to LA, I showed my cousin, we were looking at graffiti. I was seeing graffiti in LA develop too. He showed me spots like Sunset Fairfax, Melrose, we saw Panic Yard, not Panic Zone, Motor Yard, Venice. I saw stuff in LA. And I was like, this is radically different from what's happening in San Francisco. It was really cool to see all this development happening. This is me and Tunes.
Damn, Tunes burns you pretty badly there.
Oh, yeah. He'd been under Crayon's wing for like a few months, for like half a year already.
Yeah.
But he was already developed, and he was good at drawing. He was friends with this dude, Mad Hatter, who was a crazy good character guy. Like he had illustration skills, whereas I was just a doodler. I didn't really sketch. But yeah, this is trash.
I mean, I see the early stages from where it progressed to.
And this is early. You could still see the Venice Beach original background.
Yeah.
This is like 80, early 89, late 88. I can't remember. I think it was 80, 88. We drove down. We decided to pal up. Crayon introduced us, and we decided to team up. So I didn't mind driving up to Sacramento to meet him and see him and pick him up and drive down.
So how did you meet Crayon?
Through Estria and
okay, right, because they're all TWS.
Here's some LA stuff.
Oh yeah, damn.
So then this happens.
Yeah, this
and
is
then
90.
It's like, this is 90, and I'm like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
how the hell did it go from that to this?
Yeah,
it seemed like such a short period of time.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my God, all this is happening, and that was my motivation. It's like, I want to be a part of this and contribute. Whereas before I thought, I'm not good enough to contribute, and I didn't have a partner to go contribute. I finally just said, screw this. I don't need a partner. I'm just going to go and do this on my own, by myself. I'm going to make it happen. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. It was that, I don't know, graffiti really spoke to me, man. It was awesome. It was an escape from the strictness of my family, my upbringing. I was unsatisfied with school sports programs, and it was just life in general growing up was kind of unsatisfying. So this was like a cruel escape, and it was satisfying to me to have control over my life. Like I made this decision. I'm going to do it. I get to paint however I want to paint whatever I want to paint with whatever colors I want, do it however I want, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. It was kind of like for control.
So it's interesting. So you dropped out of school to join the Marines?
No, I ended up as a reservist. I did reserves.
Okay. So you graduated college and then...
I was in college. It was my sophomore year.
Okay.
After my freshman year, I joined that summer.
It's just interesting because around this time, late 80s, talking to Doug, he was mentioning that most writers around this time were kids.
Yeah.
And you're still young, obviously, but, college student, Marine reservist. That's not the average profile back then.
No. I was 18. I was 19.
So still young, still a teenager, but older probably than the average writer. Were you racking paint? Were you getting chased by cops? Were you dealing with that side of things back then?
No, not really. No chases, no cops. I never really dealt with anything. Mostly it was other writers. It was just, getting chased out by other writers, and some guys were cool. I ended up getting my ass kicked real bad at Psycho. Apparently, I guess it was, from what I hear, this guy Antai's little brother. He was like a Golden Gloves boxer. I had no idea, man. I never even saw his hands move. He was that quick, And before I could even put my hands up, I was out cold. And then some Good Samaritan dude off of Market Street came in and saved me, And Quest and Deco and those the TBC dudes were painting at Psycho in the main Psycho yard. This is up a ways. I had done something around the corner below the billboard spot at Psycho. And one of those dudes grabbed my bag. It was the dudes from 2 p.m. It was Ned and Pengo were there with this dude and this other dude. So this other guy took my bag and started walking. I was like, yo, man, where are you going? Give me my bag back. And I'd already finished my piece and all that. I was like, yo, man, give me my bag back. And then this dude, Antai's brother, came and handed his keys and wallet, came up, and before I could even put my hands up, I got laid out. So those dudes, Quest and Deco and them, they didn't want to get involved because they didn't know what they didn't want to get their ass kicked either, you know? And I knew the 80s was a rough place, man. On the bus, I saw fights break out. I saw fights at bus stops. I saw kids getting robbed. It was a normal part of growing up. Luckily, none of that really happened to me. But just one day I got caught up at Psycho. So that's basically what happened. Getting chased in LA by gangsters, you know, having to give them like a can. Just here, take two. Just don't mess with me. That kind of stuff. Yeah, I never really got messed with other than that.
What about paint? Were you racking?
So yeah, I was racking. Just getting a couple here and there, body racking. Couple times I would buy. There was like cheap paint. Standard Brands had that spray bright paint for like 99 cents or something. Orchard paint was dirt cheap back then. It was like $1.25. For like $20, you could fill up a shopping bag and do a burner. So sometimes I would buy, but yeah, I was racking, you know, not a lot, not how it turned out to be. I ended up with a giant collection of paint. I had hundreds of cans at one point. I'm still only racking like two, three at a time here and there. So, you know, I got like maybe 50, 60 cans at the house. So that's what I had to work with. And, you know, over time, it's just, I started meeting people and networking. I went out of my way to network. I looked for people. I looked to put myself into situations where I would be out of my comfort zone. And that's basically how you grow. And so I grew.
So you're going all over.
I was going everywhere.
Yeah.
This is San Jose.
Mm.
So this is 11th and Taylor. Yeah, you would hear about places. There's this spot way out where. Okay, let's go. I was willing to take the trek. And remember, gas back then was like $1, dude.
Yeah.
It wasn't those $6, $7 like it is now. Here it's like 3 something.
Wow.
$3.49. It was like $1. My little Honda Accord, you could fill up the tank with $10, dude. No problem. So yeah, why not? I'll drive around. Here. This is me doing old stuff.
It's pretty good.
It's all right. I'm trying to get shading down.
Yeah.
What I learned from Estria. But yeah, I sucked for a while, as everyone usually does. You know, this one Estria liked. He was like, he said this is a mature piece. He called this mature because of the color scheme. It was well organized, well thought out.
I definitely see the progression.
But my style still was I was thinking too radical.
Yeah.
You should
start simple.
When I tell kids now, when I give advice, I say you start simple and work your way crazy.
Yeah.
I went reverse. I went completely crazy and worked my way down to simple. Because I realized it's so much harder to paint a funk piece, a funky, straight piece, than it is to do one of these. Because you could hide your mistakes in this easily. No one's ever going to know, was this line supposed to be like that? Or was that fill correct? Or the three, but in a straight letter piece, you fuck it up. It's fucked up and everyone can tell. It took me a while to learn that.
So that was your game back then, is painting girls' names, huh?
Well, neon was kind of boring. Mm-hmm. It was two ends. It was like a similar letter. The coolest letter is the E. And an O, what the hell do you do with an O? It was kind of lame. I was like, you know what? I did neons in the beginning. Then I said, screw this. I'm going to do these other pieces. Here's Solo gun character. So I hooked up with these dudes, Solo, Quake, and we just started painting together. That's my character on the right. So here's Wim. I hooked up with Wim. So he started kind of from a new wave perspective too.
Yeah.
But he's a Berkeley dude, so he's got these Berkeley colors and flavors going on. He was a great partner because he was motivated. He was like, let's go. It doesn't matter where. You want to go to San Jose? Let's drive to San Jose. You want to go rack, Walnut Creek? Let's go to Walnut Creek and rack. Let's go to Sac. Wherever, whatever, whenever, however, let's make it happen. That was great partnership. And we just painted. And we came up together. Here's me and Jay painting at Franklin.
Like that washed denim.
Yeah, with the old cons.
Yeah.
So Jay, he's this dude that I met at a spot at a yard, and then he just would call me out of the blue. He was kind of a strange dude. He'd randomly just call me. And years later, he'd call me on my mom's old line, my parents' old phone line, out of the blue. Like I wouldn't hear from him in like 2-3 years, and then he would call. And so he was this dude that hooked up with Zip. I guess Zip was nosy from HCT, and they would do these zip walls. These the zippers would be opening up the wall, and they have a production. But he just wanted to hang out and paint with me. He would just call up and be like, hey, are you going out painting? This is one of those times. I'm like, yeah, here, come with me. Help me fill in. I'm doing this big piece.
Phil's got a lot cleaner.
Yeah. Yeah, by 90, I could paint straight. But it took me a while to get a style down. My early focus was trying to not do the same piece or the same style each week. So every time I went out painting, I tried to do a different thing, have a different idea. It wasn't until like 2000 that I switched. When 2000 hit, me and Apex did the production on Franklin on 6th Street. The Matrix we did the Matrix 2 production. I kind of changed my style and I went into a shatter style. And that's when I settled on a style. You know what I mean? So every piece from then on up to today has been that style. Whereas before, I was trying to paint way different. And so, what's his name? Picasso moved in with me for half a year. He was like in between places. And I said, hey, he's like, I got nowhere to go. I'm like, come, you can stay with me. He stayed at my place for like 7-8 months. And living with him, I learned a lot. That's when I had literally had like a mentor. He showed me style, or at least like how he painted. And his style is like a souped up scene from New York, scene United Artists style. I can do that now. I know the basics of it, where I can kind of fake a Picasso burner. I credit him as my mentor. And I credit Estria for teaching me a lot about character shading. This is me and FX.
I feel like I've seen that before.
This is going over that production me and Jay were painting.
So this is not Psycho City.
This is Franklin.
Oh, Franklin.
It's Franklin Auto Body. Concrete Jungle is what I heard the name as.
Wow.
So I'm just trying different stuff and trying to go into a little more funkier style, but it still broke up. Like somewhere around 93.
Ooh.
That's a Crush did that on the end of my character.
That's dope.
On the end of my piece. So I'm messing around with
style.
filling styles here.
Yeah, damn.
Crazy fills.
Yeah. That's clean.
Yeah, that's more straight.
Yeah.
I'm attempting more straighter stuff at this point. Like 94, 95. I think 95 is like really when I started getting my thing together. Neon funk style.
No cruise yet.
Yeah, we're BA style here. I'm in BA.
Oh, BA was around it. Oh, okay, I see that. Yeah. So
BA
you and Jace started BA?
It was basically me, Jace. Jace brought in Soap. I brought in Zombie. The four of us started the crew. We went out and painted this spot in Hunters Point. There was like a spot where they had some old trains. Jace had done work over there for some company, and he noticed that there were some freights out there, some trains. We never had freights in San Francisco, right? He's like, there's trains. He was always obsessed with trains. So he said, let's go in. So we went in. We had to cut 2 or 3 sets of fences to get in. When we got up to the trains, it was these old classic trains. It turns out the spot was a restoration yard for some train aficionados. It was like a club.
Mm.
These old timers took their own time and their own money, and they were restoring these old classic cars from the 1930s or 1920s, from the classic era of trains. And these trains were supposed to be like getting fixed up for a national tour. So thank God we couldn't get inside them.
Yeah.
The trouble that came from that would have been so much worse. So back then I was tagging my cans because, when you paint with people or you're painting, your paint would be way back there and you'd be painting the wall. And then people would like ask, hey, can I borrow a color? And they'd never give it back. Or they'd dust the can. Or people coming through the yard would come and just grab cans and walk off. So I tagged my cans. So I knew this is my can. These are my cans. And I wrote the names of the colors on the side. Like a dumbass, I left the empties there. I hid them in between the tracks and in bushes and stuff. But it didn't occur to me to take my trash out at the time. So I left my cans there. So after we bombed the place, the next morning, I'm getting these phone calls from people like, yo, dude, you're on the news. I'm like, what the fuck? I get on the news and we're looking for neon, caused how many tens of thousands of dollars of damage. And I was like, oh man, my heart sank. And my phone, we had answering machines back then. There was like 30 messages from all kinds of dudes. Doug called me. Spy called me. Crayon called me. Quake called me. Everyone like, hey man, Dream called me. Like all these messages. Yo, bro, you're famous. Look out. Hey, bro, awesome job. Whoa, you bombed. And so I had to clean up my house. I took everything to a friend's house.
Wow.
Just in case they came to my place. And then I was thinking, oh man, what if somebody snitches on me? There was like a reward. Nobody snitched.
Wow.
There was nothing. Nothing came of it.
Got lucky.
I got super lucky. But that was BA crew started that day. That morning, he came to me. I was painting at Psycho. He's like, what do you think of the name Burning Alive? I was like, ooh. Or he said BA. I was like, at first I thought BA, like Bay Area. That's cool, man. It's cool because for a crew name, everything was always a 3-letter, and it always started with a T.
Mm.
The something something. The TMF, TWS, TBC, TDK. I'm like, oh, BA. That's cool. 2 letters, and if there's no T, it's not TBK or TBA. He's like, what is BA, man? Bay Area? He's like, no, Burning Alive. What do you think of Burning Alive? I was like, oh, that's awesome. Because burning was my word. Everything was a burner to me. I'm like, ooh, that's a burner. A good meal, that was a burner. A fresh looking car, that was a burner. Everything was a burner. That was my catchphrase. So I'm like, Burning Alive, hell yeah. I consider myself burning alive every time I paint. I'm trying to burn. Yeah, man, that's a great name. And that was it.
Mm.
we just started recruiting people. He brought in all his friends from Baltimore. I brought in people from the Bay, and it turned into our crew.
Yeah, you guys are kind of unique in that sense. There's like a lot of locals, and you guys have people like Giant from Albuquerque and all those guys from the East Coast, Cycle, and
yeah, he knew these guys. Like Giant had just moved to the Bay, literally 6 months. We saw him in Oakland painting, and Jace happened to know him. I don't know how. Jace kind of knew a lot of people, and I met Jace at Psycho City one day. We were both December kids. His birthday was the day before mine, and we liked the same music. We had like the same kind of outlook on things. We're like, yeah, this is cool. Let's be friends. Let's get up. So I just started hanging out with him, and we ended up starting a crew together. This is kind of at the end of '92. We had just started BA. Well, I hadn't started hitting BA yet, so it's still Sin Mob, Strength in Numbers, Irie for Irie Bell. I smoked a lot, and then Car. That was a goofy. I forgot what it stood for. I forgot what it started. It was like Wim and Estria. I don't know. It was a bunch of us, and we just kind of made a joke crew. And this is the last piece of 1992 at Washington High School.
Mm.
I'm amazed it came out this good because it was pitch black. I couldn't even see the cans, what the color was. Like I told you, I wrote the names of the colors on the cans. I couldn't even see that. So it's amazing this came out as good as it did. We started, so it wasn't a 92. I met Jason 92. It was like 93. Yeah. Was it in the straight letter? No, I was still hitting Sin Mob. That was the end of Sin Mob. This is what the yards looked like at that time. It was a lot of this.
Hell yeah.
Nothing really discernible. Psycho had kind of devolved. And I guess that's why they closed it down. This was after that big jam in 92. You could see remnants of it here and there.
Yeah. That wall is fucking crushed.
But this is after the whole thing. This is after that jam in 92. Let's see if I got flicks of that. 92, that was that big Psycho City jam. Here's Cloud 9, Citronimus, old timer.
Wow.
He came back, did this. Bizarro came back and did this.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Seen that one.
That's gorgeous. That's Fever from LA. He did a little get up on the corner. Here's Crush. This is one I did. Just the silver. Yeah, there's no BA just yet. This is a great piece. Dement from Doug.
Oh yeah, seen that too.
Classic.
It's clean.
And then Dream and Spy went up on this lift and did this giant.
Yeah, it's kind of a famous one.
And then everyone was taking the lift and getting up. Just tagging everything. That Gigs piece, Gigs Wonderism on the bottom, awesome. From what I heard, he was like high on weed, shrooms, and he had drank a bunch of alcohol. He was flying. And that's how it came out. He must have outlined that like 3 or 4 times. And then the fill is crazy. A rad piece. Yeah, the place was done up. Here's King's piece.
Wow. That's super clean for back then.
That's at Franklin. Not everyone couldn't fit at Psycho. And it got tagged on quick. I was like, what the hell's wrong with people? This is Omega from LA. I think it's that Fever character. Oh, it's another character around the corner. Saki from San Diego came and did this big rabbit.
I feel like I've seen that before too.
I don't know. Rabbits was like a thing in '92.
Yeah.
FX did a rabbit. He did a rabbit. Persuade did a rabbit. Everyone was doing these rabbits. That razor piece. Like, I lost a lot of negatives from this area. It's hard to remember a lot of details from back then, you know?
Yeah.
There's a Picasso piece.
Damn. Amazing.
He was kind of retired. He came out of retirement and did this. This is me.
Broccoli addicts.
BA. I was just trying to come up with different BAs. This is the production in the marina. There's that train tunnel across from the Safeway in the marina. You know, when you go down Marina Boulevard and then it turns up.
It's kind of by the Fort Mason, right?
Yeah, right behind Fort Mason. We went in there and did this.
Yeah, it's just tight. Those felon characters were also hella dope to me.
Yeah. Felon, Soap, me, Jace, and FX.
Damn.
Well, and then they buffed it within a week.
Wow.
The city buffed it.
Yeah, I never saw this before. Those guys were bombing a lot too.
Yeah.
Were you bombing or are you just strictly piecing?
Mostly piecing.
Yeah.
I was a streaker guy. I liked streakers.
Okay.
So I like the way streakers, they bake in the sun and become permanent. I was hitting them a lot at the sunset.
A lot of people say about the why they like the 80s better when I talk to them. It's like, I guess it's like a little biased because it was before so many out-of-town writers came, right?
Yeah.
But
92, 93 is when a lot of out-of-towners came.
But I mean, they had a big influence out here. There's so many people coming from all over.
It was different, yeah. I just wanted to paint. So whoever was there, I didn't care if they were locals or out-of-towners. As long as they wanted to get up, I wanted to get up.
Yeah.
Here's one I did at Coors.
Wow.
Scum and Techno 167 or 169 were visiting from Germany.
Definitely different style.
It's it's new wave. I was imagining if I blew my nose, what it would look like letter forms mixed with goop, you know. So then I started developing.
By this time, like how deep were you into graph life? Were you holding on a job or were you like just full-time painting and
I was
racking or
all through these years? It's kind of like off and on. I kind of retired in 92. I decided, you know what, man, I don't know. I'm not going to do this anymore. I sold a bunch of my paint. I moved to LA. I was going to make a complete change, you know? And I got a job down there. I was staying at my cousin's place. And it didn't work out. My aunt was like, got to go back. You got to live your life. I can't put you up anymore. Because I was having a hard time saving up money to find a place. I said, okay, I went back to San Francisco. As I came back, Jim Prigoff calls me up and says, oh, there's this gig I might have for you. It was the Converse gig. It was Converse wanted to do a commercial. And so they got Disney, me, Dream Vogue, and Raven. And I was back in 92. So they paid us a bunch of money to do this. And I was like, short on cash. I was like, all right, I'll do it. That's Disney, me, and Raven's section.
Damn.
And so he said, what colors do you want? So we all talked. I called Vogue and we kind of like came to the conclusion we were going to ask for like, I don't know how many cans each, like 500 cans of paint we needed or whatever. And then Jim's like, that's crazy. I don't have that kind of money. Because he was putting up the money for the cans first and was going to get reimbursed. He's like, that's unreasonable. I was like, oh, shit. So I went back and told the guys, yeah, he's not going for it. So we put in like a 200 can per person order, right? And that's what we ended up with. We each got 200 cans. So suddenly I had sold all my paint. Now I'm back in the game. I got all this paint and we got paid, I don't know how much money. It was at least $1,000. I can't remember how much. 1,500, 400. The funny thing is they were producing this video and something happened. I guess the company was from they were from Boston, and like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before this thing was supposed to be done, some writers broke into the bus yard, broke out all the windows. They messed up they bombed the transit yard and broke windows and made a mess. And it was such a big stink in the paper that Graff had a bad name. And so these guys were just kind of quietly, we're going to just kind of push this to the side. And so it never aired. The only part that aired was Schmo was there with his kid, and they showed Schmo on screen with his kid. Like, motherfuckers, man. We did all this work. This is the whole wall, far shoot. This is kind of like the middle of the yard.
Yeah.
They gone through and like cut all the bushes. So there's very few little bushes here. It was the Rodney King thing. So Disney did a Rodney King production. I did what I did, Screaming Head with my neon piece. Raven did a Brutal Paradise production, and then Dream and Vogue did their Dream and Vogue. Vogue did the Cap getting beheaded. Sick production. That's what got me back into it. And then I kind of floated around 93. I was painting with Wim, and I met Misk through Crayon. Crayon seemed to like not want to bring up people. So he passed them off to me. So I started bringing up Misk. But I never looked at it like I'm sitting down teaching you anything. It was just like, okay, you want to write? You want to be a writer? You got to paint. All this drawing and talking about it is nice and all. For me, it was about being out there and getting up. So I'm like, there's so many people who are good in black books, but if you can't paint that, you're not a writer. That's how I look at it. You got to get up. You got to be able to reproduce what's in your book on the wall or better. So that was my goal, was always to take the sketch and reproduce it on the wall or make it better. Because the sketch is like the plan. On the wall is when it's alive. So I'm like, and that's your school. That's how you learn. So I'm bringing guys up, teaching them how to rack, teaching them where to get up, introducing them to people, showing them can control techniques. Sometimes the only thing I would do is I'd walk over to Apex or I'd walk over to Misk and I'd show them, oh, maybe you should do this like this. Or if you filled in your 3D like this, or your lines are off. So I'd help them keep their proportions in order, you know? So I'm like, and that's how it was. I met Misk. I hung out with Misk. I hung out with Apex. And then I would paint with different people, but really I would have like a partner. So like Apex was like my partner. When we became partners, that was it. And that he was my partner. If we were going to add anyone, it would be us two plus someone else. I never would break off and go paint with someone else. And so I credit him for kind of getting me back serious into graff. I kept painting because of Apex, because I saw him getting better and better. And then he was like great at racking, man. So we would just go and clean out stores. It was fun. It was a sport for us. We made it into a fun sport. We traveled, we painted, we got up. And so, yeah, that's what it was, man. I started living it heavy from like 96, 97. I just hooked up with Apex about a year earlier through Rasta. And that Apex on the left, that's me.
Wow.
I did a circle type piece.
It's dope.
And I was trying different stuff. But like I say, in 2000, that's when I changed. This is a beautiful production. This is me and Apex at Vallejo. This is one of my favorite pieces.
Wow.
Wim called up and said, I got this wall in Vallejo. There was Misk on the left. I did the character out of a magazine, my piece, Apex, and then Wim's.
You guys are definitely doing something different. You and Apex style complement each other.
Yeah. He was doing this noodle style, spaghetti style, I called it. So Matrix 1, I got to show that. That's one of the best productions we ever did. So that's my part of the production.
Yeah, I've seen this too. That was kind of like in Soma, right?
It's Harvey's on, South of Market off of 6th.
Yeah. Damn. Who did that background? Those characters?
So me and Apex, so that's my piece with my character.
Shit's hard.
Let's see, I might as well show the whole thing. I'm going to try to show the whole thing. We saw the movie with Apex's family, and we saw like a late showing on at the Galaxy Theater on Van Ness, and we were so hyped. That movie was so dope. We got out and went to the emergency exit. We went through the exit, and as we were going down each level, it's metal stairs. It's a metal stairwell. Everyone was like stampeding down the stairs, so you could hear their feet, boom, 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 boom. And then everyone would jump onto the platform, the landing, and it was like this big echoing boom, 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 and then bust open the doors onto Van Ness. And everyone was just standing there. I remember everyone was just like, what the fuck did we just see? That movie was badass. We couldn't sleep. So we stayed up all night sketching. He came up with this, and I came up with my sketch. And we called each other like 4 or 5 in the morning. Like, yo, bro, are you awake? I'm like, yeah, I'm awake. I couldn't sleep. He's like, me neither. I'm like, dude, that was fucking sick. Yeah, it was. And then like, we got to paint this shit. He's like, yeah, we got to paint this. He's like, let's go to Harvey's. I got this spot. Apex was good at getting spots. So we went down there, and then we started our outlines. Delay lived on the alley. I don't remember the name of this alley. There was another alley behind us where he lived with Giant and some other people. And he was just passing by. He's like, hey, can I get up with you guys? I'm like, yeah, man, get up. And this is what he did.
Wow.
And then I just connected his character with the pipes.
Yeah.
I wrote, yo, plug me in now. And this was our idea. It's the Department of Style and Theory at BA headquarters. We had racked all these colors. We had tons of paint, like, 700-800 cans of paint each. So we would always sit up on the phone and talk about how we were going to paint. We would mentally imagine fill-ins and be like, okay, what if we did like purples fading to like reds to like, going light to the middle, and it'll be white. And that'll be our outline. I mean, that'll be our fill. And then we could fill in with other colors. And we could mentally visualize that, They'd be like, yeah, why don't we use a baby blue outline? I'm like, yo, that would be sick, man. That would pop off the thing. We could do like grabber green technicals and purple technicals. And like, yeah. So, yo, I got this green buff. Like, all right, we'll use that. And then I got this character we can do. So it was all in our head because all we had were the sketches of the pieces. Delay came and filled that left corner. Apex did his piece. And I did this character out of a comic book, The Hacker. And so we had all this paint, and it was easy to just bring it all, and it took a weekend. The background amazingly came about because we started on a Friday. I did the character first. And then he went painting with a part and Prey and some other dudes that were up from LA. And they were at Mariposa underneath 280 there. And they got chased out at the Caltrain tunnel. They got chased out. And they ditched their bag of paint. He comes back Sunday, or he tells me Saturday night, yo, man, we were painting Saturday, and we got chased out, and they ditched their paint. I was like, oh shit, man, what was it? It was like a bunch of greens and stuff. Like, oh, cool. So we went back Sunday. They went back home to LA, and Apex was like, let's go get their paint. I'm like, all right. So we went, picked up the paint, brought it back, and that's what we used to do the background.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, it's interesting because like we were starting like in the 80s and you were trying to do all these advanced color schemes, but it's kind of crazy because it's like 10 years later, you pretty much had it down with all these complex fill-ins and stuff.
this is when I changed my style. I decided to go from an organic, like a new wave kind of a style. This is the Matrix 2 on 6th and Howard. So this is my half of the wall. We decided to do a part 2 Matrix production. So I came up with the idea of the background, like circuitry. So I had some broken radio internal parts. So I just held them up and I just kind of copied circuits and stuff. And then I wrote everyone's names in there. So on the top there, you can see this is Torres, El Rock.
Oh, yeah.
I hit up Desire here. Here's Bliss. Here's Misk. Here's Giant. Here's Jace. Hit up more. And so like the BA is growing out of the equipment. And this little dude is working on my style here. And then Apex's side, he was messing around with 3D pieces at the time. So we did all this equipment, and he did this 3D piece. So this was our production. This is in between us. We wanted to do a whole section of productions that design the headquarters of style and theory of BA, and we were trying to bring all this style. After this is when I flipped my style. So I flipped my style to do this more shatter type looking piece. Here's a part of it. So I just took straight letters and then I broke them apart. I started doing like with bits. I made my letters with bits.
I remember that.
And then I tried to imagine if I had a straight letter and I took it and it was made out of glass and I dropped it on the floor, what would it look like? How would the letters be? So I tried to create movement with the bits and try to keep the letter form. This is the first piece I did that was like that. So Shime was visiting from Australia, and we took him to Townsend Alley, and I did this. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I like this. I can go with this. It's a lowercase n. It's basically that straight letter you saw years ago in 1994 or 93. I just took that straight letter and made it into this.
How did the Montana connection happen?
So Montana happened through Zor. I met him in LA back at one of those, the original Graff meets. So I met him and I'd been in touch with him through the 90s, and then we kind of lost touch. And then suddenly he's back in town. I hear he's back in town, and was it 98? Was it 99? It was 99. We got back in touch with each other and we painted, and we're like, oh, this is cool, man. We rekindled our friendship and we're hanging out and we're painting, and it was fun. He smoked a lot and I smoked a lot. So it was great. This is a great partnership. He ended up going to Europe, and he was doing a gig at some, I guess, YMCA type spot in Brussels, Belgium. And then he traveled to France, and then he met up with this dude, Ekla, who wrote Ekla, Ekla ended up being the German Montana distributor in Mexico City years later, coincidentally. But Ekla introduces him to Jordy, the owner of Montana. Somehow he made his way to Spain, saw what he saw. He comes back. He's like, bro, I've seen the city of gold, the lost El Dorado. I've been to the cities of gold. I've seen the glories of heaven and all this bullshit. He was saying, so they offered me this gig. I want you to get in with me. I was like, all right. So we went to Spain together. We went to the factory, met with them, and We're like, yeah, we're interested in doing a paint thing together. And it's me and Zor. We're going to do it. So I pulled out $5,000 in cash out of my pocket. And I was like, yo, okay, here's our first order. So we started importing paint, going to the Port of Oakland, renting Ryder truck, U-Haul trucks, picking up the paint ourselves. And we stored it at the 23rd yard. The other side of the 23rd yard was storage units.
Yeah.
We just went there.
Still there.
We just went there and I showed them, well, they were like originally no, because you can't store flammable explosives in a place like that. But I was like, yo, man, I used to paint the back there. I still do. I'm a writer. This is like, we're going to keep it discreet. We're on point and this and that. But he knew Dream, or the guy, the family that owned it knew Mike somehow. And I don't remember, man, the details, but somehow I was able to show and prove. I brought photos and I showed them, yeah, this is me. I've been painting this since late 80s. So they're like, all right, cool. So they let us store our stuff there. And then we started doing Montana colors. We ended up having a falling out. The reason I ended up doing it on my own is because I lived in the city. He lived in Oakland. And I let him have my truck. We bought a 1999 GMC Suburban to ship all this stuff around. We started the business by doing these road trips, these bum rush tours all around the US. We drove all the way to Chicago. We drove all the way to New York one time. And then we drove all the way around the US and we would ship stuff. And a few of these times we I didn't go. A couple of times King 157 and Desi did the driving. The back would be loaded with like 3,000 cans of paint. And then we'd have a U-Haul trailer with like another, 3,000-4,000 cans of paint and t-shirts and paint racks. And we would just roll around. And as we were getting up and painting in these cities, we would meet store owners or writers in those cities would introduce us to places. And then that's how we built up our network. And the way the falling out happened was, it was just, I wasn't able to make it to Oakland all the time and take care of orders and stuff. And we were a partnership. We were 50-50. I expected him to take care of business, take care of orders for people. And he was using the truck to go to San Jose and paint with King all the time. He was painting all these whole cars. It was fun. It looked cool. It was great, but it wasn't business. It wasn't what it was about. And we were losing, there was some, I guess, customers. So this whole time, I got to backtrack. I'm trying to think how to explain it. This whole time, I'm thinking, these guys are in Spain. They're supplying us. They're way over there. How do they know what the hell we're doing? Like, really, what do they know? We could be totally fucking off and they won't even know. Little did I know, they were keeping tabs on us. They had all kinds of writers, people that were non-writers, and then the stores were talking to them. And they were pressuring me to why aren't you taking care of certain stores? Why aren't you doing this, that? And I was like, Zor, man, what's going on, dude? You need to be on point. You need to be like a business. I guess in his mind, he had imagined he hooked the thing up. It was his gig and I was going to do all the work for him. And he was going to reap the benefits and just be Zor the writer. Whereas in my mind, and I had said to him as much on all our travels, bro, we're in this 50-50. Yeah, you hooked it up. I put up the money, but we're doing the travels together. We're painting together. We're in this together. So I expect you to come through. And that's where the breakoff happened. He wasn't doing business. He was more interested in painting. And so I was like, all right, and he kept saying, this is my shit. okay, so this is your shit. Here's your shit. And I took all the business paperwork. We were called Montana America at that time, Incorporated. So I gave him all the paperwork. I gave him all the business stuff, all the bank account information. I was like, here you go. You take care of it. This is your shit. So you take care of it. I want my truck back, and that's it. I'm done. I'm out. And then Jordy was calling me and emailing me. We owed like, I don't know, man. It was like $25,000, $30,000 at that time. And I was emailing. I was like, yo, man, don't talk to me. Talk to Zor. You made the deal with him. And I can't work with this guy. So I'm done. And it turned out they kept pressuring me to fly out there. And I'm thinking, they're going to fucking Godfather me. You know, they're going to Goodfellas me, throw me in the trunk and kick my ass and demand their money back. Finally, I just confronted him. I was like, yo, man, I'm not coming out there to get my ass kicked. I don't have the money. I have nothing to do with this anymore. I don't care. Leave me alone. They're like, just come out. We'll fly you out, man. Just come and talk. Jordy called me, and his English sucked at the time. So I appreciated the fact that he took the time to call me and with a translator, with his shitty English, talk to me. I was like, all right. So I flew out there. Shortest trip to Europe ever. Fly out Thursday night, get there Friday night, hang out all day Saturday, back home by Sunday night. I was literally there for a day and a night. And we go there and I'm like, all right, well, what's the deal? And they showed me all these emails from people. Some of them I didn't even know who the hell they were. Some of them I knew they were writers. Some of them were stores. Some of them were stores that I'd never even heard of that wanted to carry our brand. A lot of them were just like, I want to work with Alex. Everything was positive towards me and it was negative towards Zor. And like, we don't want to work with him. He's not trustworthy. He's not whatever they were saying. They didn't want to work with him. They wanted to work with me. And I said, okay, look, if we're going to do it like this, we can't do it the way we've been doing it out of a storage unit and shipping it here and there. It's got to be like what you guys got going. At the time, they had this warehouse called Spray Planet, where they got one in LA now. I go, that's the way we got to do it. Distribution. They're like, all right, do it. I was like, all right, so I have your blessing. Yeah. And so we basically talked about me being an extension of them. And so in the beginning, they paid me. I was on like a small payroll, and they sent me paint, and I chose the name Montana Colors North America. I aligned myself with them. I said, I'm doing this specifically with you. So I'm not going to carry Belton. I'm not going to carry other brands. I'm showing my loyalty. And I got the domain name mtncolors.com, and I basically built the US market. I warehoused, I shipped, I put my reputation on the line, and I made it like Amazon. If you had your order to me by noon, we got your stuff out by the end of the day. It was all about hustle. Snap your fingers, it's done. You want your paint, and I'm not going to substitute randomly like other people would like substitute. Art Primo was notorious for that. People didn't like that. You order, 10 colors, suddenly 5 of them, you don't get the colors you want, but you've been substituted, stuff you don't want. I never did that. I would call people back. Hey, Dregs, you ordered flat black, for example. I don't have flat black. Would you want a charcoal gray? I would try to help you out with something close to what you wanted. Oh, I don't have Cosmos purple. I got Vampire Violet. It's kind of close, a little darker. So I would help people. And so that's how the business grew. I got Jason on it because no one else was, I talked to a bunch of other people, and Jason was the only one who wanted to get involved. And we basically got a warehouse out in South San Francisco in someone else's warehouse. We were renting space out of another business. And eventually we ended up taking over the entire space. We were like the third person. There was someone else renting the other half of the warehouse, and we were renting like 1,000 square feet out of the spot. And then the other guy dropped out, so we took over that half. And then the main business dropped out, and we took over the whole warehouse. And then eventually we outgrew what it was like 3,000 square feet, and we moved into 5,000 square feet. And that's where we were until the end.
That's crazy. I didn't know all that. Do you remember someone named who wrote Spiral? He used to come. We would buy paint from you via him. He'd be like, I'm going down. I'm going to go see Nia. Tell me what you want. And he would hook us up.
Yeah.
Because, at the time, it was like kind of, was Montana before Belton?
Yeah.
So this idea of like we were talking earlier about like Rustos versus Krylon and all that. And you deal with a lot of shitty fucking paint out there.
Yeah.
Whatever you get your hands on. And I remember like the idea of essentially it was kind of marketed as spray paint for writers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like when this shit dropped, it was just like you noticed right away the difference. And it was a game changer.
Yeah, man.
But it was kind of one of those things where it was like you kind of had to be like, it was like cautionary because it's like don't jump straight into this. Because it's kind of like learn the techniques of the regular paint before you get to this, so it makes you even better. Instead of like jumping straight into it, and obviously it's like you couldn't rack this from the store,
right?
It was, but yeah, that was a game changer, and I remember you were hooking a lot of people up, and it's great. It's pretty impressive to see what it turned into because that was like 20 years ago.
It was about taking care of the writing community. That's the way I looked at it. I'm doing everyone a favor, hooking up the community. And I was okay with writers putting in orders. Like I say, we were in South City. So guys would call me up and I wouldn't mind stopping on the way back to the Sunset in downtown, taking 280 or taking 101. It was meeting you on the street corner at 6th and Howard and dropping off 40 cans. I did that for a lot of people. It was about. So what I'd heard was before me, guys would get paint because I wasn't the first. I was just the first to mass distribute it. They would get paint and then they would like hold on to the good colors and then sell the shit colors. I was about, this is for all of us. We should all benefit. And I want to see what is going to come out of this. Who's going to do what with it? It was intriguing to me to see new colors going up. And the pieces started getting juicier. And like you said, people were still using the old paint. They weren't just jumping straight to the hardcore. So you'd see the hybrid mix of the paints. And it gave this look that it's gone now today. Everyone either all paints with 94s or they all paint with hardcore. And hardcore back then was a different formula. That was the best ever. It covered like Rusto and it sprayed and had the control of Krylon with a valve that you could put any cap on and it wouldn't spit out. What the technical term in the business is called overkill. It wouldn't overkill.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember too. It was like at the time, it kind of made like the can control you got from it. It was like it just made certain stuff possible that wasn't really like. That's when you start seeing these super, super crazy photorealistic portraits and, like you said, the color, the range of colors. Because I mean, how many? It wasn't even that many colors available with Rusto and Krylon.
30 or 40 tops.
Yeah. But then you ended up going to a different path, or are you still with the company? I know Jace is still working with them.
So what happened was I ended up getting pushed out in 2014.
Okay.
I don't want to get into the details of the company, but basically, they did me dirty. They did the guy in Brazil dirty. It's their MO. And I get it. It's business. They're a company. But still, man, when you give the guy, I gave them my word that I was going to be down for them. And I delivered the US on a silver platter. And they admitted it. But yet, loyalty there is no loyalty. It's a shame. For them, it was like, you got a debt. What they were doing was they were fronting me paint. It got to a point where I couldn't buy the amount of paint that I needed to supply because there's a lag, right? The order takes, I don't know how many weeks or a month to make. It took 3 to 5 weeks to make the stuff. Eventually they got faster at it, but the stuff was made by hand. Okay. In the beginning, there wasn't no machines. It was people grabbing cans, putting them under these machines and filling them by hand, putting the marbles in by hand, putting the valves in by hand. The only machine was the machine that would fill it and the machine that would crimp the valve and fill. But there were people putting their hands on cans. So you were limited by how fast these people worked. And it took a month to get the stuff to America. It's got to go from Barcelona to a consolidator. The consolidator consolidates all the freight coming to America. Then it comes to America. It goes to the East Coast. It goes all New York, Norfolk, Virginia, Miami. Then it hits Houston, and it's got to go through the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, up to Long Beach, then Oakland. And then you had Oakland, these motherfuckers would sit around and strike like every other goddamn month, it seemed like. Sometimes I'd be calling the port, be like, yo, man, where's my paint? And, oh, it's just sitting out in the sun. We can't get a truck out to it. It was a pain in the ass.
That's really interesting, just seeing where it came from. Like I said, when I was a kid, and you kind of brought that paint to the Bay for the first time to now. That's a really interesting backstory. What about when was the last time you painted? Do you still paint?
I painted, what is it? August? It's almost August. I painted January, February, March.
Okay, nice.
I was doing freights with this dude, Mega, here in town. And he was tripping because I was using old Rustos. I saved like 300 cans of Rusto to bring them here because I wanted to paint freights. And then it turns out all the freights on Interstate 10, that whole spur got pulled out years ago. So I was like, oh, fuck. Same thing like San Francisco. There's no freights in San Francisco. You got to drive all the way to goddamn Fremont to go paint, all the way to Warm. It turned out to be the same thing here. I live on the north side. All the freights are on the south side. All the spots are on the south side. I got to go all the way down there. I got to drive 45 minutes out of my way, all the way down here in sketchy neighborhoods, worry about my car getting busted in. Like, I wasn't feeling it. So we were going to this one layup spot. And sometimes we got lucky and sometimes we didn't. But yeah, that's the last time I painted. It was a few months ago.
Wow. Well, I mean, any final closing thoughts or anything else you want to reflect on? I feel like we went through like almost 4 decades of history there. Yeah.
I regret the falling out with Zor. I wish everything was still cool with him. He's a great writer. He's the kind of dude you want to go in a layup with because he's going to have your back. But it was a business thing with us. We didn't see eye to eye on business. And that's what it took to run the company at that time. And I was trying to be all business. I wish there was some way we could have kind of kept our friendship together. He was a great writer, man. We were getting up a lot. I was almost fading out at that time. Starting to lose it. I was working at Macy's.com and he kind of brought it back. And, the whole thing with MTN. Yeah, I wish I wish it could have gone in a different way. I imagined retiring with that business, man. You know, I never imagined it going this way. But at the same time, I have to say, it's like when you date a chick that has cheated to be with you, you know that at some point you can't trust her. She's going to cheat on you again. Montana Colors, they're cheaters. They're cheating bitches. They cheat. They cheated before and they cheated on me. And when I showed them massive loyalty, there was a time I could have brought Belton in. There was a time I could have brought other brands in. I helped the dudes bring Cobra in. I helped establish these brands in America. So, no. I wish it could have been different, but I guess the way it is the way it is. And I'm happy with my life, man. It's cool. I know what I did. Everyone who knows what I did knows me. I did it for the love. I did it for writers. I tried to take care of writers. When we started talking to these art stores and they would complain, our prices are too low online. I'm like, dude, you gotta think they're going to pay tax and shipping and handling. It's going to be the same price as buying it from your store. Yeah, but they go online and they see your prices and then they come in with the screenshot. We have to price match. Like, you don't have to price match, dumbass. I was talking to president, like these dudes in suits. I'm in a hoodie at these meetings with dudes in suits. I'm telling them they're fucking dumbasses. It was awesome. Jace was sweating bullets, man. He's like kicking me under the table. What are you doing talking to them like that? I was pointing. This guy, he fucked up. And then she told me this on the telephone and she fucked up and she's costing us $100,000 in business this year. It was like that with me. I was calling people out. I speak truth. You might call it talking shit. I'm not talking shit. I'm not making anything up. I'm talking the truth. So I was for writers. I was about supporting the writers, protecting writers. I'm looking out for you because I want to see this flourish. And it didn't turn out to be like that. I'm hoping with one of these brands that keeps coming out today. A dude from Brazil hit me up. He's starting a brand now. He's going to start a thing for the writers. It's going to be for writing, not for art stores, not for mass consumption, for writers. I hope it does well. I hope it turns out to be what we think it could be. I told him I'd help him with it, but it's really him doing it all. I'm just kind of advising.
Right on, man. Well,
yeah. A lot of brands now.
Yeah.
A lot of brands.
No, the game has changed. Appreciate hearing your story, looking at the flicks, and thank you, man. Thank you for being part of this.
Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it.
You got it, brother.
It's an honor.
There it is. Neon. Burning alive. Thanks again, man.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.